All right, everyone, it's time for some more political analysis here between Trump and Desantis. Desantis is probably going to run. It looks like, according to some people, he may be wise enough not to do the exploratory committee thing like Tim Cotton has done and actually just get in the fucking race. While I still think that it's a big-time long shot that he even potentially wins his own home state of Florida in an election matchup against Trump in the GOP primary, it would be wiser just to jump in if you intend to do that as opposed to looking like you're waffling it. That won't work. It would destroy your reputation. I think that some DeSantis fans wouldn't like that. They'd be like, well, why aren't you just going toe-to-toe with Orange Man? You've got it in the bag. Again, I disagree, but there's a lot of bravado. At least nobody can fail you for being cowardly or indecisive, which at this particular political juncture would be a bad thing. Right now, though, we have a matchup in Florida, and it's rather telling with regards to endorsements, and I'm not seeing anyone else really analyzing it from this particular perspective, so I'm putting it out there. Trump has gobbled up the majority of endorsements that are available from people from Florida that represent the state at the national level in D.C., mainly members of the House there. So, Florida has a certain number of House members, a disproportionately large number like a big state like California, New York. The senators haven't weighed in yet. Senators are harder to get than representatives. Trump has gobbled up more than half of those legislators already. DeSantis has one endorsement among them. Donald Trump has a spattering of endorsements at the state house level. DeSantis has already gobbled up most of the state-level House members, so people that represent their districts within Florida. They go to the state house in Florida, not to D.C., the state-level party apparatus. And this shows me something. And I'm sure that there will be two interpretations of this. DeSantis fans will say, oh, well, that's right, the swamp wants Trump, and here in down-to-earth Florida, where you do have a significant Republican majority there, it was nearly a clean sweep in the last election. Congrats, at the state level, Florida really kicked ass with regards to that election. There's no doubt of that, and DeSantis did too. Oddly enough, so did Marco Rubio. Somehow, we're not quite sure. Anyway, they're going to interpret it as saying, look, that's because Trump represents D.C. politics. If you look at like the down-home Republican conservatives, the real conservatives, they all want DeSantis. I look at it from a different view, which may not surprise many of you, and it's not even because I support Trump as the nominee, and who I believe is near inevitable as the nominee. It's not because of that. I've expressed before, while DeSantis has done some things that have really irked me, and I don't really think I could support him anyway, he has done, as a governor, he's doing a reasonably good job. Certainly pissing on the liberals with the Martha's Vineyard busing and things like that. That's definitely worth some kudos to him. I analyze it as the National Party understands that to win a national election, which is what 24 is, you can't pander just to your core base. And DeSantis coming from the right or attempting to do so, evangelizing it up, etc., wins him big kudos and big praise from people that are in areas that are already politically safe for the GOP. That is, areas that are already red, or at least lean red and or solid red. Now, this doesn't translate, by the way, to many of the flyover states in the United States. For the most part, those people are endorsing Trump too. Trump, in polling, for what it's worth, it is massively disproportionate, utterly is knocking it out of the park. He's leading by more than 30 points. Those are the Republican lay, and they're not all in red states. They're not all in Florida. They're not all in Wyoming or the Dakotas. Many of them are in swing states. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, which is, it's funny to see it as a swing state since I lived through the 2000s. North Carolina, Virginia, places like that. Places that are in New Hampshire is in play, Nevada. Montana is becoming sort of swing statey at times, actually, although it's snapping back in the other direction. Democrats really want Texas to be purple, but it looks like they really fucked up on the immigration issue and the economy, and they probably have screwed themselves on that for at least the next couple of decades, so we'll see where they meander demographically. Here's my beat on it. I believe that DeSantis represents, hey, I'm popular among core conservative voters, and of course, like the Trump derangement syndrome sufferers, some of them are MAGA. They like Trump's policies, they just don't like Trump, and so largely they support DeSantis. It's a mystery as to why they would dislike the person that gave them a plethora of things that they asked for, but that's their right. And that's the way I analyze it. Again, DeSantis fans will interpret it differently. They'll say this is because DeSantis is real and salt of the earth and Trump represents D.C. or something like that, which is a laughable claim, but it will be the interpretation given. I think that if DeSantis were nominated at this point, having pissed off some of the core Republicans, HB 269, for instance, for some of us who focus heavily on free speech as an issue, that's a bridge too far. And I'm not the only commentator that said this. And no, not all the commentators that said this have a visceral hate for DeSantis. They never would have supported him. Do you recall me making videos for months saying that if he won in a fair primary, I would support him? That ended with HB 269. I warned a month before that would be a bridge too far. He decided to cross that Rubicon, and so I'm off. I can't drive with DeSantis because I think he'd be driving drunk. That doesn't make him a bad governor. It doesn't mean he doesn't have a political career. If he jumps in even if he jumps in and batters the shit out of Trump and they get into the all-legendary grudge match that the Democrats desperately want and need right now, I still wouldn't have a dislike for DeSantis specifically if he maintains a role in politics. I just don't think I would support him for the presidency, and if Trump, the technical incumbent's already in there, the writing's on the wall about who I'm going to support. Now, when I see that Trump has most of the Florida legislature and DeSantis has most of the state house, it doesn't even really surprise me. The other thing is that DeSantis is really popular in state. Now, if I'm on that state level, DeSantis, you won my district in Florida by 15, 20 points, I probably don't want to go against him and endorse the other guy because I can always endorse the other guy later, even though I believe he's likely to win. I'm showing bravado and patriotism towards my state because I want to keep my job. The legislators on the national level, meanwhile, need the help of the national party function. They believe that Trump will win as well. They're endorsing him because they're more free to do so. That's the way that it works. If you're in the state house, you're not representing the same kind of constituency as someone who represents a much broader district. Trump will probably be nominee. I expect that there will be some people that will hold their breath and pout when that happens. I suspect that most of the TDS sufferers that nonetheless like MAGA will be fine with him in the end, although I would point out, the one caveat here is that if Trump pisses off a bunch of Floridians who are lock, stock, and barrel in the state level behind DeSantis, if he goes too dry, he could hazard Florida in the 2024 election. He needs to walk a tightrope with that. DeSantis would have the same problem. Of course, if he goes rape-tape mode against Donald Trump, then he might lose the support of other people in some of the competitive states that you need to win. Florida would be in the bag. He wouldn't have a problem there. But what about Arizona, which is in play? As Hong Kong aside, it is in play. New Hampshire, where the GOP can make inroads, it is razor thin. Hell, look at what Lee Zeldin did to Hochul in fucking New York. By the way, Zeldin should probably have some sort of major role in the campaign in 2024. I think he seems to be a good organizer. Pick him up and get Rand aboard too. He's really going all in right now with regards to the China virus, we'll call it. That's about all. Peace out.